done before, Rick. And it'll be about 12, 15 minutes if that's all right.
Sure.
All right, so we are now recording, and I'm going to just jump in live.
Okay.
Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors all over the world about their book subjects, how they got to writing that book, why that book's important, so many things. By the way, many of our viewers are prospective authors. They're writing, trying to get this book written and out there. And that's why we like to bring on some people who've actually done it. They wrote the book, they stopped writing. Some people find that to be the hardest part, is stop writing, put your pen down, and get it published. And so we like to bring on people who've done it. And our next guest is here, actually, Richard Hinkle. Welcome, Rick.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell our viewers where you are.
Well, I'm in the mountains of Arizona, about 90 miles north of Phoenix,
Yes.
in the elk country.
Yeah.
They jump over the fence and eat my wife's flowers all the time, and yet the town is it's not like a farm, it's 20,000
Yeah.
people, but they kind of own the place.
Now, what town is it?
Payson, Arizona.
Kason. Okay. And by the way, the reason Richard's back here again is I found his passion and excitement for where he lives so exciting that I looked it up after and spent a lot of time stalking this guy to see where he lived and stuff. And it's an amazing place, Rick. Now,
Thank you.
tell our viewers, we have the cover here somewhere. Tell our viewers what the title of the book is that got you here.
Okay, well, it's 7 keys
Yeah.
to a more satisfying future at work.
Yes.
And it started with, I was fortunate to be around some very successful people in my career, but they all started at the bottom. One of them was a nurse's aide at the Mayo Clinic, and when I interviewed Shirley, she was in charge of every Mayo Clinic employee in the world.
Wow.
And so it was like, wow, how did you get from that up, up the line kind of thing, right? Well, and that worked, and I did that with 60 other folks in the process, including my brother, who was huge and again started as a salesperson and then ended up being a senior officer at Pella Windows. So I was like, wow, maybe there are lessons there that we can share with today's folks at work. Well, it morphed pretty quickly into not everybody wants to be the boss, right?
Yeah.
People just want to work and they want to put food on the table and a roof over their houses, but they want to enjoy what they're doing. Mm-hmm. They want to feel that there's some satisfaction there, right? Not just work, 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 work. So then I sort of shifted things and started talking to people about, well, what is it about work that you don't like, and what is it about work that you do like? And Mike, you and I talked about the fact that just this week,
Yeah.
some of the big time magazines, Inc. and Fast Company, are saying that only 43% of folks that are working outside, you might say blue collar folks, are satisfied. Mm-hmm. And only 53% of the folks working in typical organizations, right? Well, that's not good for them. It's not good for their employers either.
Yeah.
And then, 4 out of 10 of the Gen Z, the younger employee group, they're saying, I'd rather stay home
Wow.
than go to work.
Yeah.
And 53% of that same group said, I'll delay my work for a while because I'm still binge watching series on TV. It's like, oh, wow, how does that work, right? And then you got the threat of AI. Is that going to take away my job, right? And then, if you're a worker for the federal government, then all of that's going on too. So lots of issues related to satisfaction.
Yes. By the way, just because this is kind of colorful, you were at where the other day? Disney World or something?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's interesting. Dads, I'm told, are supposed to take their daughters to Disney. It's kind of like a rule, right?
Uh-huh.
So there were a lot of dads at Disney World with their 3-year-old daughters, and I was there with my 53-year-old daughter. But at least, I got her there. We had a good time. No, I just can't. This is so important to me because I've been a coach and I've been a big brother and all that stuff, right? So I'm trying to pass along the wisdom, not so much my own, but that I've collected to other folks that are at work. Let's make the most of this. Let's enjoy what we're doing. Let's be productive and all that. And so here I am at Disney World, and I'm talking to people from senior management folks that I bump into to people taking care of the animals, the whole thing, right? The customer service and whatever. And they're all, to a person, they seem really fired up. They seem like they're really, into it. And I mean, one young woman, she runs with a big draft horse an evening cart ride right along one of the rivers. Anyway, so but they're interested. So I asked them, what is it? I mean, these are not official Disney approved. These are just conversations, right?
You're just bumping into people asking them.
Yeah, and I did the same thing yesterday when I was at Walgreens, right? Talking to somebody behind the counter. What is it you like about your job, and what is it that could be better, and blah blah. Okay, so it's a mix, but at Disney, for some reason or another, just seemed like everybody felt good. They felt good about being with other people, helping people, but they seemed to be honored. Disney seemed to treat them well, not just about the money, but about being listened to, that they were engaged in with their superiors, and they didn't even use the word boss. They just used team leader and stuff like that. Yeah. And I kind of say, is that sort of corporate baloney? And the answer is no, not at Disney. I mean, I think it's for real. I think that people buy into it, and it's great. So there are some ways. This whole issue of work satisfaction or lack thereof in a lot of ways, that opens up a big door, though, for people at work that want to increase their impact and to make more out of their work. So you if you're one of those that's not too satisfied, well, I get it, I understand. But if you're interested in moving forward or trying new things and really enjoying your day to day, well, there's lots of opportunities, and that's what I'm trying to share here with Mike and also in the book, because there are some proven ways to improve your satisfaction and your success at work. So that's the purpose. That's what we're trying to share with you, and some very specific things, not just generalities, but there are some actions. For example, if you're at work and you kind of feel like I don't think people really know me. I don't think my reputation, it's not bad. Yeah. It's just that it's not very strong. It's only amongst my current team and so forth. Well, that brings up a little sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but it's like, if you're not in the promotion pool, you need to make a splash.
You need to make a splash. Okay.
Yeah, make a splash. So what we mean by that is, today's world, especially in the corporate and larger organization world, you're moving around in the organization, and whether it's promotions or new opportunities, depends on how many people know of you and your work, and whether or not they know of you outside of your current department.
I see. Wow.
Because now that promotion pool is kind of managed by a lot of people in other departments, other divisions. You're kind of like, maybe it's like the NFL draft or something. They're looking for talented people, but the evaluation of you depends on people that may or may not know anything about you. Okay. So what do you do about that? If you want to get in that promotion pool and have the best opportunities, then how do you do that? Well, there's some proven techniques to do that. And so, I'll just share a couple of those with you. Okay, so you're doing your job, and you're doing it the best of your ability, and people around you appreciate you and all the rest. But again, spreading your reputation. Okay, so one way to do that is to get on some task forces, or are there some committees? Maybe there's a merger or there's a new initiative, right? You can volunteer to do that. And then people around you will, that Rick guy, he seems like he's willing to help, that kind of thing. Okay. Second thing is, maybe it's important to try a lateral transfer. And a lot of people, your friends will say, don't move up or what, don't go. No. There's a lot of benefit of moving to another department, another division, and getting some background there as well as to get known, right? Another one is build relationships outside your department. I know a guy that wanted to do this, and he joined the sports league.
Yeah.
And another one said, you know what, I'm going to try to have coffee every once in a while with somebody down in the lunchroom that I don't even know. I just want to say hi. I want to find out what they do. Another one is, gee, do you have a mentor? And there are mentor as in big M, and there's mentor as in small m. The big M typically is, if you're in a larger organization, maybe the human resources department will say, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to assign you one, right? But the small m mentor is a situation where, you just kind of look around, and maybe you go ask for advice over here or whatever. But either way, you've got kind of a coach now, right? And you can ask them questions, and they can advise you. And I could tell you a story that nearly cost me my job once upon a time.
I like these stories.
Related to that, I was an up and coming manager, the younger of them, and I was in charge of sales, and I was depending on two more senior people, probably old enough to be my dad, actually. One was in charge of public relations, the other was in charge of marketing and advertising, and they weren't giving me what I needed. So in a staff meeting, I threw on the table in front of them all and said, look, you're not giving me what I need. I went out and bought what I need from other vendors outside the company. Well, you can imagine. The vice president in the room, he wasn't happy. These two guys weren't happy at all. And there was another vice president in the room from a different place. And he called me aside after the meeting. He said, you dug yourself a big hole here. This didn't go well, and everybody in the room knows they're going to work for you someday.
Oh, they knew that. Wow.
Yeah, but you just told them they were incompetent.
Yeah.
So how's that going to go down the road, right? Well, that guy became a mentor to me for the next 10 years.
Wow.
And I knew I could talk to him, and I knew he would advise me. Okay, so not enough about me, but I mean, there are stories like that about mentoring that really matter out the other side. Yeah. Another thing is, you want a better reputation, trust your employees. Treat them openly, honestly, and they will buzz about you to other people. Volunteer for charitable organizations. I was a Boy Scout leader. I was on the Habitat for Humanity committee, those kind of things. The other folks that helped me contribute to the book all did those kind of things. And then another quickie thing is, if let's say you're the head IT person or you're in the IT department and you want to build some relationships, well, probably your organization belongs to some kind of regional or national association, meaning your organization. I was in the energy industry, so my utility was part of the American Gas Association, right? So I could get involved with them and be with my peers from other companies across the country. And then they could give me advice because it didn't cost them anything and we weren't competitors, right? So there's that. And then I guess the last thing is, Rotary Club, Lions Club, Postmasters, those kind of things. There are people in those groups that know folks in your organization. So that's just
everybody should be in a service club, probably. If you want to move up and become known, I guess you should be in a service club.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another benefit besides getting word out about who you are. I mean, there was a guy who volunteered to help run a golf tournament. Mm-hmm. And he had plenty to do, but he was going to try to get people to sign up for hole sponsors. Put a sign up on hole number 6 that belonged to XYZ organization. Right? He did a really good job. And so the guy that was organizing the golf tournament for this big charity happened to know this gentleman's president. And the president of this gentleman's company and the guy that he did all this work for happened to have a coffee. And the guy that organized the big thing said, Joe is really an outstanding guy.
He's a go-getter.
Really performs well.
Yeah.
And the president that Joe worked for said, I don't even know who Joe is. Tell me about it. Right? So there's an example of how this works.
How that works, right. Now you're talking about there's people who like to go to work and just sit there, get their work done, get home. You're not
Yeah.
talking about those people.
No, I mean, I understand that, believe me. Even theoretically, as a writer now and an investigator and all the rest, there are times when I'd like to say, you know what, I just want to go sit on my deck,
Yeah.
right, and let things go. But uh, that kind of just minimalistic
Yeah.
participation probably means you're not fired up.
Yeah.
You're not really satisfied at work. And there are some ways to fix that
Hmm.
and to get more connected and not to push this, but maybe you need a new challenge, right? And so
Yes.
that's back to, hey, maybe it's time to go take on a new task, get involved in some other activity,
Hmm.
learn more about your organization. We can talk about that in coming weeks. There's some pretty cool ways to find out about your organization more deeply. And the
Yes.
more you know about it, then the better position you're in to share your ideas.
Very good.
And whatever. And you can build your own leadership skills, so forth. So yeah, the minimalistic thing probably is a sign of boredom,
Hmm.
or you don't feel like they really care. They're not paying attention. They're not listening to me, and therefore I'm not particularly, whatever. So yeah,
If you're doing
an
the
issue.
minimalist thing, that means you're probably bored there. You need to start looking around anyway, maybe for another job or another career. But you're in a job and a career. But I got the first thing when we started talking today, I was thinking, oh, you need to get in the company baseball league or something like that. But you did mention that, or if the company is having a annual breakfast or something, you need to show up for those things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, another guy, yeah, he was really good in his own specific area, but he didn't know anything about the operating side of
Yeah,
the construction side. So he joined the company golf league,
there you go.
and all of a sudden he's playing. It's not fancy, it's not a country club. It's a public course, and it's every Friday after whatever. But through that, he got to meet people running the warehouse, running manufacturing, and they weren't necessarily the big shots. They were employees like he was.
Hmm.
But all of a sudden, then, as he faced an issue, he could call somebody
Yeah.
in a whole different area that he would not normally have come in contact with.
Mm.
And that relationship and his ability to solve problems, wow. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, his leadership in his own division said, wow, Rick is connected.
Yeah.
He's found these things out. He has relationships, right, other places. So yeah, those are pretty handy deals. Even I don't even know anymore whether the old fashion, money raising. They used to go to department
Yeah.
to department and ask you to get involved. Well, doing that,
Yeah.
or doing a presentation about something to people that you don't know and they don't know you,
Yeah.
starts to build that reputation, right? So yeah, I mean, and there's some satisfaction in that, right? Maybe right now the area you're in is a little boring. Maybe it's a little routine. Maybe it's tax time again and you're an accountant and you go through this every year, right? Well, for now, you're stuck. You got to do all these things, right? But then
Yes.
maybe there's some side hustles, so to speak, in the organization that you can do that kind of builds you up and makes you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, clicking on some stuff here, so don't go anywhere. In fact, I'm going to stop. We're doing this through computers, so for the audience and for Richard, I'll edit this part out, but I've got to step over there and click something, or the whole thing's going to blow up. Actually, it's working pretty good now, Rick.
Yeah.
Now, I want
Yeah.
to say, now I'm setting this up. We're setting up, Richard and I had this talk a couple weeks ago, and we decided that people need to hear this, so we're going to come here, once a week or once a month, we haven't decided yet, and just talk about this. So we want our viewers to tune in. In fact, we're going to make our own YouTube playlist of just Richard, Rick Hinkle, Hinky, I always get his name wrong anyway, and I can't see it from here.
Well,
But
and I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
so we're
ahead.
going to have a playlist where you guys can see these videos. We're going to make one a week or one a month. We haven't decided yet, but this is important stuff. And who should be looking at this, Richard?
Well, it's primarily for folks at work. Maybe if you're, in college and you're going to be graduating soon and stuff, there's some elements in the book about choosing the kind of organization that you want to work for. If you have certain moral or whatever, issues, then you maybe don't want to work for certain companies in certain industries. That's your business. But primarily, I would say it's for 25 to 55-year-old folks at various levels from, hey, I'm in my first job and I want to do well and understand what the future might be like. Or you know what, I'm not retiring at all, but I'm looking forward to additional challenges. And the world is changing, as I shared with you when we first started. Lots of different shifts that are out there, and AI. People are afraid, is that going to take my job? Hey, I'm an author. Is AI going to take my job? Right? That's the purpose of this. And the other thing is, just to be clear, authors write for different reasons. Okay, and that's terrific. And gee whiz, I'm proud of them all. Just to be clear, in my case, the purpose of this is literally pay it forward. If, and I underline if, and Mike knows this better than anybody, if an independent author ever makes any money from his efforts, all of that for me goes to my local charity, and the charity pays for high school kids to go to the community college while they're in high school. We live in kind of a not super poor but not very wealthy area either. And my beloved state of Arizona is not good about funding public education. In fact, it's the worst state in the union. So these kids would typically go to college as a junior in college from high school because we've helped them get the courses they don't have at their high school at the community college. So, that's just me. But the point of this is, it's not about enriching me out the other end. It's trying to share back because all these 60 people that shared with me, I mean, they spent hours with me telling me about their lives and what happened and whatever. So I just want to thank them for that and literally pay it forward.
I just so one of my things is listening to people who've gone through it. So we're not going through it from scratch. Other people have been through stuff. We want to listen to them and kind of learn from them. And one is Richard, of course, and he's talked to so many people who are leaders in their area, and we want to listen to them as well. But going on forward, Richard, some of the things I might want to talk to on this series is building your relationships, starting back in high school or even college, deciding what job you want. I don't know if you have to decide before you start college what job or career you want, but I'd like to discuss that a little bit. And also the building of relationships as you go along that might help you out later in life.
Yeah, well, yeah, and to add to that's a great list. To add to that, once you let's just say you end up being an engineer. And so that's who you are, and you graduate and you go to work and you're doing engineering things, right? Well, maybe at some point in the future, you're going to start having a team. Well, and I love engineers, believe me, don't get me wrong here, but there are certain technical types of jobs that are so focused on data and engineering and math and whatever. So now, leading people or guiding people or having a team, there are new skills, right? So you might even be a 50-year-old. One of the guys that I interviewed was that kind of engineer, right?
Yeah.
And he admitted he was kind of stuck on those things. And then he went to his boss, the head of engineering, and said, "I want to join the sales department for a while." And his boss said, "What?" And the reason for that was this guy was doing engineering drawings for customers. And he said, "I would want more time with the customers so I can do a better job of being an engineer." So, there are things that you can learn. We can talk about how you grow in your career, how to add those kind of skills, relationships. And then today, another thing, Mike, we can talk about is, there's a lot of young folks that have kind of been maybe sheltered a little, so they're maybe a little reluctant to take a chance.
Yes.
Wow, I don't want to, so there are things we can help folks do that. My brother was huge in that. I remember when he was asked to go before the board and talk about a new line of windows, but he brought his number two along and said, "No, you're going to make the presentation."
Nice.
And the guy went, "Oh my God, oh, I can't do that." But he did, and did very well at it because
Yeah.
my brother coached him through that process.
Very good.
But being a coach, being a mentor, that's another topic, Mike, we can talk about, is, a little bit about how it works for you, but then how you can pay back by being a mentor.
Pay back a little, yeah.
Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing series, Richard. I'm anxious for us to get it going, and like I say, for our viewers, this is going to be its own YouTube channel as well, where you can just go and listen to Richard and listen to him talk. Say the name of the book one more time, Richard. I'm going to put it up here.
Sure. Yeah, it's 7 Keys to a More Satisfying Future at Work.
Yeah.
And if you want to invest $1.95, just $1.95, you can go to Amazon and download it onto your Kindle. So again, it's not there we're not going to be competing with Mr. Musk and some of the other folks in terms of the future. Yeah. It's there, it's easy, and we just hope it helps. Anyway, so I appreciate Mike's commitment to this, because it really helps me sort of finish up something. It's important that we share this, and it really does work. It's no baloney. It's not corporate speak. These are real people. Yeah. One of the guys was literally shoveling coal into a power plant in St. Paul, Minnesota. And when I knew Bill, he was a chief operating officer of a 12-state utility. So how do you do that, right? Well, and obviously he did that because he enjoyed it. It wasn't about the money, right? Okay. So anyway.
By the way, before we're totally out of time, go back and give the whole idea of the book. You went and talked to how many people about their jobs and satisfaction, and put it into a book.
Yeah. Well, we had 60 individual interviews. With an Apple vice president all the way to a senior vice president at Victoria's Secret. So it was a mixture of folks. But then we tested it with 200 other people in webinars who were actually the primary audience for it, and said, okay, use these skills and then come back and tell us whether they worked or not. So, it's not an academic thing. It's a real life. These are what people are telling me. And it was my job to sort of synthesize all this wisdom and try to put it in language that people could benefit from. And I tell you that one of the best reviews was just on Amazon. It was just, as a career coach, I now use Rick's book and 7 Habits of a Highly Successful People together. So, it's like, wow, that I didn't expect that, but that's it. The other comments are, I wish I'd had this book earlier in my career. It would have helped me a lot of ways. So there's satisfaction that comes back to me.
Well, I'm going to leave when we leave here, which we've got to do. They're signaling me when Richard and I talk. This always happens. In fact, I think I just lost him. I'm going to put the book up, order the book, but tune back in here, because every week or so, we're going to do this talk, and we're going to put on our own YouTube channel, and we're going to learn more every single week. But for now, that's Richard Hinkle, Rick, I call him, and keep watching, because you're going to learn a lot, and we'll be back with more Briggs on Books right after this.